This podcast brought to you by Ring. With Ring cameras, you can check on your pets to catch them in the act.
Izzy, drop that.
Or just keep them company.
Aw, I'll be home soon.
Make sure they're okay while you're away. With Ring. Learn more at ring.com/pets.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
This is Optimal Living Daily, 5 Ways to Survive a Layoff by Jeff Rose of GoodFinancialSense.com, and I'm Justin Malik. Welcome back. This is a Sunday bonus episode where I share an extra episode from the Optimal Living Daily Network. And today's comes from Optimal Finance Daily. Please do subscribe to or follow Optimal Finance Daily wherever you're listening to this to keep all of this going. It really helps a lot. But for now, let's get right to the bonus episode and Diana's commentary as we optimize your life.
5 Ways to Survive a Layoff by Jeff Rose of GoodFinancialSense.com. As unemployment numbers continue to rise, many employees are stressed about whether they'll have a job next week or not. Some have already lost their jobs and are scrambling to find new employment. In this time, financial planning is crucial. This is a time when people are desperately in need of guidance. If you think you're about to encounter a layoff, you need to be focusing your attention on what can be controlled. Cutting expenditures, figuring out emergency funds, evaluating how to replace lost benefits, and making a game plan for the job search. Number 1, save emergency cash. For those that are still employed but the future of their job is uncertain, I would encourage them to have at least 12 months of savings in cash. Unfortunately, many will not have enough. But if they're still employed and the emergency funds are not there, tapping into their 401k might be a viable option. I know what you're thinking. Tapping into your 401k usually goes against all that I stand for. And with this dismal market, it might be a dangerous move. But if they become unemployed, that option might now be available to them. Typically, if you're still employed, you're allowed to borrow up to half of your 401k balance up to a maximum of $50,000. Running these numbers, you can guesstimate the period of how long you think it'll take you to find a new job and then how much you would need to borrow to get you by until the new job is found. If you borrow from your 401k while you're still employed, then you avoid the 10% withdrawal penalty. Sure, there's some speculation in this move, but if you're in a high demand field, you may be able to use this move to your advantage. Warning, if you do this, be sure to double check with your employer when you are due to pay it back. It tends to vary by employer, but it could be due back immediately, within 60 days or some period greater. Number 2, don't pay off debt. Another common misconception after being laid off is that most people want to take their savings or take their retirement savings and pay off debt, such as credit cards or even the 401k debt. But in this type of market, paying off debt should not be the priority, especially if you're unemployed. The priority is to keep your savings intact and make sure that you have plenty of cash on hand. Sure, credit card debt is bad, but just focus on making the minimum payment until you get your job situation in check. Number 3, focus on crisis budgeting. If you're used to shopping every weekend or eating out every other night at fancy restaurants, then most likely those changes are just around the corner. You need to sit down and seriously hammer out a budget of things that you need and things that you don't need. You may even consider working out 2 budgets, one for while you're working and one for while you're not working. So that way you can truly see how much you're spending per month. And then you can contemplate whether you can go on a cheaper cell phone plan or cut your cable bill services. Sometimes adding that extra payment per month might not seem like a big deal, but $50 here and $50 there will surely add up, especially on a limited budget. Also, too, knowing which expenses you absolutely must cover will help you realistically search for your future job. Number 4, replace lost benefits. In the aftermath of a job loss, people should take stock of what benefits have been lost, which ones you're entitled to by law, which ones may be portable, how to continue healthcare coverage, especially if there are dependents. Typically, employees are eligible to keep the same coverage through COBRA for at least 18 months, but they may have to pay 102% of the cost of their insurance premium. If their premium has been subsidized by their employer, then that cost would be a rude shock. COBRA can often be a good bridge choice, but it ends up being a health benefit. Families paying $200 a month for insurance under COBRA, it could be $1,000. Luckily, the government just passed a new law concerning COBRA benefits that qualifying people will only be responsible to pay 35% of the benefit. This comes at a time that should be very helpful to many who are facing layoffs ahead. Many employers offer life insurance, long-term care insurance, disability policies, and they may be portable as well. For another person or one who is not in good health, ability to take over the payments on an existing $100,000 life insurance policy may save the worry of having to find another carrier. It's better to keep it for a few months to make sure they don't need it and drop it later. Number 5, consider a career transition. Many people will be forced by an unforeseen job layoff to reassess what they want in their lives and what is meaningful to them. They may have to craft resumes, cover letters for the first time in years and feel at a loss, especially if they're switching to a new career path, which is in an unfamiliar field. If you haven't jumped on the social media bandwagon, it's time. Consider Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and other social media sites to reconnect with old networks and also create new ones. The more people that know your situation, the better. Also, consider starting a blog to showcase your talents. You just listened to the post titled 5 Ways to Survive a Layoff by Jeff Rose of goodfinancialsense.com.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Want to teach your kids financial literacy, but not sure where to start? Greenlight can help. With Greenlight, parents can keep an eye on kids' spending and saving, while kids and teens use a card of their own to build money confidence. As a parent, you can send instant money transfers, set up chores, automate allowance, and more. It's a convenient way to run your household, customized to your family's needs, and the easy way to raise financially smart kids. Get started with Greenlight today and get your first month free at greenlight.com/Spotify.
It goes without saying that the best time to prepare for a layoff is while you're comfortably employed. Not only will you be prepared savings-wise, but it can be helpful to practice living on a bare-bones budget before it's necessary. I found this to be extremely useful because self-imposed restriction allowed me to grow the frugal muscles that still serve me today. If that restriction was forced on me due to a loss of income, I think the negative emotions surrounding that would have affected my creativity and resourcefulness in getting my needs met. I liked the advice here to have a 12-month emergency fund. It's often recommended to have 3 to 6 months of expenses on hand, but this has never felt like enough to me personally. Another benefit for holding 12 months is that I also use this stash as my sinking fund for things like home and car repairs. But I was surprised to see the advice on borrowing from your 401k in this article. I've just had it drilled into my head that this is a really bad idea. Obviously, if you're backed into a corner with no other options, it is what it is. But I would be inclined to exhaust every other option before doing this. I think probably the biggest reason this isn't a great option if you're going to lose your job soon is that job loss typically triggers a requirement to pay back the loan faster, usually by the due date of your next tax return. And if you default, it's considered a withdrawal, so now you have to pay taxes and penalties on that money. This to me is the nuclear option if I was absolutely desperate. However, Jeff makes a great point about paying off debt here. A loss of income warrants putting debt payoff on pause, and the goal switches to not getting into more debt and controlling the burn rate on your savings. And that should do it for another edition of Optimal Finance Daily. I'll be back tomorrow as usual, so I'll see you there on the Friday show, where your optimal life awaits.